Alright, people, you already know what time it is. It is the time of the season for the predictions for the BT9 X record tier list. Definitely the best tier list you will ever see. I do want to say a quick shout out to Battle Ready Inc. They're the ones who made this tier list maker. All I did was just rearrange it a little bit. But hopefully I'll just be here to give you my thoughts on what the meta will ensue. And feel free to agree with me, disagree with me, call me names, all that good stuff down in the comment section below. I'm very curious to know what you guys think of all the new decks coming out in X Record. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to break it down into basically the typical tiers, 1, 1.5, 2, 1.5 basically means like it's like just about competitive. It can be competitive in some scenarios, but it's not like a guaranteed win. Just to clarify that, Rogue, pretty self-explanatory. The Copium tier, that's basically just like this deck is like just shit. It's not doing anything. You gotta be like you want some Copium if you think you're gonna do well with that deck. But anyways, let's go ahead to get started with one of my favorites from the new set. That's going to be Galamon / Black War Greymon. So Galamon is a really cool new addition to the deck. Really powerful boss monster. Speeds the deck up a little bit. Gives you the ability to have a reboot blocker, as well as like basically every other keyword in the game they just slapped onto that guy. Sec attack +1, blitz, devolve, all that stuff. Really good stuff. Now I do think at least previously before the new set, Black War Greymon was a pretty solid 1.5 option. It was a very powerful rogue deck. A lot of hard counters, hard counter on a lot of decks in the meta, but of course it just wasn't very successful because of the rampant Imperial players and the blue hybrid and stuff like that. So I'd probably put Galamon and all the Black War shenanigans probably at like a 1.5 or a 2. I'd probably say a high tier 2 or like a mid 1.5. I'd say this deck is definitely competitive. However, just because the way the meta is, because there's so many much more faster decks. Yeah, you have a lot of board control. Yeah, you can blow up tamers, but you have too many bad matchups. I think that I like to take this to a big tournament and like hope to do well. At least that's my thoughts on my initial testing of the deck. Next, we got a Bellstarmon. I want to say Three Musketeers, but realistically, let's be honest, guys. Everyone's just playing Bellstar, Eismon Turbo. This deck was a pretty solid rogue choice last format, or for the BT8 format. Really strong removal options, lots of good recursion, the ability to spam on the Digimon on the board like in your final couple of turns with stuff like Nailbone. I still think I would like to put Bellstar at like a 1.5 status. Like this is by no means like one of the best decks in the game, but just because of how evolution based a lot of the new X antibody decks are, I think having a very powerful security game and being able to clear big stacks like with your removal option cards, it gives you a lot of versatility. So I can honestly see Bellstar popping in and out of the meta depending on what the prominent decks are upon the Set 9 official release. I'm a big fan of Bellstar. That's enough out of that. And then for the next deck, this is one of the other new cards. Really just like a card for an existing archetype. This is Magnamon X / Armor Rush. So Magnamon X, guys, is a very, very powerful card. Like if you don't know what this guy does, he has a really cool, wow, there's so many Magnus. Okay, here we go. Magnamon X antibody. So he's essentially a level 6 that can warp on top of your Magnamon, so giving you like an actual win condition in the Armor Rush. Very, very powerful. Being able to effectively just act as like an 11,000 Mechanori. Whenever your opponent's Digimon attacks, if he's got like a armor underneath him or X antibody, like the white option card underneath him, so you're just going to evolve him on a Magnamon. So you meet that condition, you basically just get to redirect as many attacks as you want. It doesn't suspend him to do that, and it's also not once per turn, and it doesn't also require him to, like I said, doesn't suspend. He's like blocking without like actually blocking. So that's why I say he's like an 11k Mechanori. And then when he does when he is deleted, you just basically place him on top of your security stack face down to prevent the deletion, reverting back into a Magnamon. So now you essentially just like recovered one, and then you established a blocker, and then maybe if you're playing like some like TK sauce and Armor Rush, there's probably enough yellow targets for you to do that. You can like grab back the Magnamon or whatever. So I honestly honestly think like the card is like really really good. I think Armor Rush was already like a low tier 1, high 1.5. I would probably put this at like low tier 1, to be honest. Like I think Magnamon X is like really really good. Just Armor Rush in general, being able to outpace your opponent, I think is really really valuable. But this could honestly change. Maybe we'll see that it's not like so good. But I honestly think with this, the new option card, all the other tools that Armor Rush has at his disposal, like, you're probably beating out Evolution decks a lot of the time. So the next for our red next deck here, we got a red hybrid Ancient Greymon Turbo. Basically, just another one of the one stack decks that just wants to do its own thing, doesn't really care about your opponent's board, and then you just swing for 5 checks and then Omnimon / hybrid them for game. This deck does have a lot of cool things going for it. First of all, the hybrid package is always broken. Hybrids are really really cool mechanic, and then you also got like stuff like Delicate Plan in the Aldemon package, because you basically have and a searchable Delicate Plan that basically you can stick underneath them, maybe with a Rowdy Rocker or evolve it, and then go into Ancient Greymon on top of the Aldemon, stuff like that. So a lot of really cool stuff you can do. This deck has seen like competitive play basically since set 7. It's just been a very like rogue deck that's been in and out. Like you see like one in every top cut just randomly. Oh yeah, there's the red hybrid player. Of course he just high rolled and basically was able to top in that tournament. So I don't know if you could call that like being like a tier 1 deck, just because there's a lot of other decks that do what red hybrid does, but just like more consistently and better. I'll probably put red hybrid at like a tier 2. Like it's a really solid rogue choice. Maybe this is just going rogue. Like rogue as in like this deck is like solid and you can see success with it, but for the most part you're gonna be bricking and you're not gonna want to see the pieces that you need in time for you to win out. Maybe top you'll top every now and then, but I think overall it's just a very like less consistent one stack deck. So then now we got Beelzemon Blast Mode here, Beelzemon the deck. I was actually kind of underwhelmed by this deck upon the release of EX2. I really thought this deck was going to do more. It's a really cool mechanic. Like just it feels like if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh, it feels like you're playing Light Sworns. Like you got various like graveyard effects, various effects upon when you're trash from the deck. So a lot of cool cards. Unfortunately, I think this is like a definite like rogue deck. Like I at the Philadelphia regional a little while ago, at least at the time of this being recorded, that when EX2 was released, that regional, there was one Beelzemon that made it into top cut and performed really well, but for the most part the deck is just a little bit underwhelming in what it wants to do. Blast Mode's a really cool card, but unfortunately it's just I don't think it's really like doing too much. So for that reason I'll put this in rogue, and actually let me just move Ancient Grey to like to high tier 2 status, just to differentiate these two categories. So next we got Ordinamon. Kind of the yellow-purple Jogris shenanigans. This could maybe coincide with like Mastamon as a deck. Now Mastamon throughout BT8 and EX2 has been very, very popular. So I honestly imagine just with the support you're getting from the yellow-purple that maybe there's some sort of Ordinamon like Mastamon sauce that you can brew up. I think Ordinamon as a standalone card is like absolutely insane. It's a literal board wipe that you recover for every Digimon you delete, and then it just keeps recurring itself. So it's a really, really crazy card. Now, I honestly just have it. This is like one of the only decks from this set I haven't tested, so I probably cannot speak too much upon this. So I'll just basically give you my prediction for Ordinamon / yellow-purple Jogris. I'll probably put this at like a high tier 2, or like a maybe like a mid tier 2. I'll put this in the tier 2 category just because it's I think the ceiling is very high, but it lacks a little bit of consistency, just similar to Mastamon. Mastamon is a very, very powerful deck, but it's not one of the most rampant decks in the format just because of its lack of consistency. Loses to Imperial, loses to a lot of the faster decks, especially in this format. I think you're going to find that problem a lot. You're probably going to be losing to Grandis, to Metal Garurumon, to X Black X Antibody, etc. So for those reasons, I'll keep it there. Now Machine Dramon / Chaos Dramon, guys, you already know I'm a big fan of the giant cyborg robot dragon Digimons. Super hyped for EX3 at some point whenever we get that, and then now we got a lot of cool new cyborg Digimon to work with. I love me some Machine Dramon, but this deck is just straight copium. Like you are not going to do anything with this deck. I'm sorry, but this deck is just like not good. No, even with like all the support you're getting in BT9 and EX3, I still think this deck sucks. As much as I like it, I will say it's very meta dependent. Machine Dramon himself and like Chaos Dramon as a follow up are very, very powerful cards. Like Machine Dramon can't be reduced by DP, has a bunch of inherited reboot blockers, Psych Attack +1. Attack unsuspended, and then if it would be deleted, you just like detach 2. But the problem is there's a lot more removal that like doesn't delete. I think in this upcoming format. So and then the fact that the deck is just really inconsistent. It takes like 3 turns to get set up. At best, you're dropping a Machine Dramon like turn 3 if you're high rolling, and even then like okay, like you've got a big blocker on field, so what? So honestly, like this deck's cool, but it's not doing anything. Now this is going to be like the pure like black purple X antibody, kind of like the Dex deck, I guess. This is separate from like actual X antibody, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The Dex deck, I honestly haven't really been doing too much stuff in Japan. I think Dex, the level 4 Dex is really good. I honestly haven't really like read the new let me make sure what this card does before I actually like say anything. Let's read this guy. Okay, so Dex Doragoromon. When Digivolving, if it Doragoromon, delete all your opponent's Digimon at the lowest level. Okay, that seems cool. And then on deletion, you may play a level 3 purple or black from your trash. If you have 5 or more with Dex in their trash, you may instead play a Dexmon. That seems cool. How many Digimon are there with Dex? Like, is there at least like... there's not them, but there's honestly like... I mean, there's just like these 3. So, it seems cool. There might be some shenanigans you can do with this, but I think like regular X antibody is just better. I'd rather just like hard play a Dexmon than like go through the trouble of like setting that thing up. So I'll probably just put this in like Rogue just to put it someplace. I honestly don't think that stuff is very good. Now Diaboromon is a deck I have not like actually seen anyone playing in like a very long time. Diaboromon's a really cool deck. Had a lot of fun with it in the EX2 and like the past couple formats. I'll probably put this in like a low tier 2. I don't want to say it's like quite Rogue, because I definitely still think this deck can like do some stuff. Being able to check 20,000 is always good, and the fact that you can spam tokens, decoy blockers, depending on the format, if format's very heavy on removal, that ability to be able to set up those decoys is really, really powerful. So I'll just put that in the tier 2 category for now. Now D-Reaper, this is another deck that like I think when this deck was like originally shown in Japan, and like I was just like watching gameplay, I remember me and my friends were talking about like how crazy the D-Reaper deck is, just because like Reaper's really insane, Gatekeeper's really insane. But then, like, when you actually play the deck and, like, look further, it's like, oh, these cards, like, don't do anything. You're just playing Searchers for, like, 5 turns, and if your opponent's playing any sort of deck with, like, aggro at all, they'll just, like, kill you before you actually make anything relevant. I'll probably put D-Reaper in Rogue. Like, I think it's a little bit higher than the Copium tier, but, like, it's a pretty bad deck, not gonna lie. Alright, so next we got Galamon, Tribal Galamon X. I think the new support you get out of BT9 is actually really, really crazy. Being able to go into the Galamon X and then the Galamon X to be able to boost the DP deletion threshold basically makes like EX2 Gallant, instead of popping 8k or lower, you can pop 10k or lower. Megidramon immediately pop 12k or lower. So those effects are really, really powerful. And then not to mention Galamon X himself, being able to unsuspend is really, really relevant effect. There's been so many times where you have to like swing with a Galamon, but you also need to Crimson mode that same turn in order to game them. But with this, you can swing with your Gallant, unsuspend it, and then go into Crimson mode, blitz, and game them. So I think it actually fixes a lot of the deck's problems. I'm looking forward to this card a lot. I'm probably gonna put this, just because it's a very aggro deck. I think set control's pretty rampant. I'll put this in like a low 1.5. I honestly think the Gallantmon deck is like not terrible. It can do some shenanigans, alright? Trust me on that one, guys. Alright, so now we got Imperial German. I'll just like cut straight to the chase. I think this is still like an easy tier 1. It's probably still one of the best decks in the game. Imperial German still, for many reasons, just being able to aggro down your opponents, just being able to Jogris, drawing 20 cards in a turn, access to Ice Wall, Hammer Spark, Davis. HPD, all of the really, really broken cards, 2 limited cards, in fact. So, Imperial German, you're not going to get any complaints out of me. That deck is still tier 1. Same thing with Yellow Hybrid. This deck, it will still persist until the end of time, it seems like, at least until maybe Bandai limits or bans Jet Sylphie. If you want my personal opinion, I think they should probably put Jet Sylphie to, like, 1 or 2, like 2, like maybe you could probably get away with that. I think like 1 and the deck would be like probably like knocked down to tier 2. 2, it would still be playable. But ban, I don't know about ban. I don't know if it's ban worthy, but it's a pretty unfair card. So anyways, that rant aside, Yellow Hybrid / Set Control variants will just always be good as long as there's aggro decks, as long as there's good removal cards. These decks will just exist to balance out the format. That's like basically it. Set Control's existed since 1.5, and it's gonna exist basically until the game ends. So Yellow Hybrid's still really, really powerful. Justimon. Man, Justimon, man. I don't think do we get the new Justimon in BT9? Like, or is it, am I thinking of a different set? Critical Arm? Was it? This is BT10. Never mind. Okay, so we don't get anything. I think we get like these cards, which are cool, but honestly, I don't know, man. I'm pretty sussed out on Justimon. I was testing him out at the beginning of EX2 for a little bit. And the deck was just like not good. I'm gonna put this in the Copium tier. Like, as cool, I think Justimon himself is a really cool card. Like, it reminds me of like Tactimon and like Lord Knight. They've got like really cool effects where they have like a very high ceiling but a very simple effect. I just think the surrounding support like isn't really that good. Justimon himself is a cool card though. Maybe I'm wrong. Alex at Huang Zero, you can tell me if I'm wrong about that. Like, you're the Justimon stand, but I don't think the deck's very good. So anyways, Blue Hybrid for the next one. Again, like Hybrid, the mechanic as a whole is just so broken. Being able to freeze always going to be good. You have access to all the really broken consistency cards in blue. I think Blue Hybrid is still an easy tier 1. Like, I think people have a misconception that this deck has like left the format, and I don't think it has. Even in EX2, it still persists. BT8, it's still a really solid pick. I'm pretty sure it's like been topping like hella regionals and stuff still. So Blue Hybrid, still a very, very powerful deck, I think, just going forward into the BT9 meta. Metal Garurumon X. Now, guys, I'm not, big on the Garurumon decks, but if you're a fan of like Garurumon's Evolution Line, Garurumon Tribal, I think finally exists with this card. Metal Garurumon X, guys, is a crazy deck. This deck is like actually insane. You can the amount of aggro you have and the board control as well, and then of course being a blue deck, you just have a lot of consistency with Davis, high ceiling with the Metal Garurumon, and a lot of really powerful like draw cards as well. This is just a tier 1 for me. Like, I think this deck is one of the best in the format. I think it's really, really powerful. Sakuyamon as the next one. Now, as a pure deck, I think Sakuyamon is like pretty terrible, but as Sakuya Lord Knight is like, let's just take that as like the standard. Like, you're playing Sakuyamon in your deck. I would probably put that at like a high tier 2. Like, Sakuyamon's really solid, I think, as an extension of Lord Knight. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen that, I do have a profile, some gameplay on my channel of the Lord Knight Sakuyamon deck in action. It's a really, really cool combo deck. Go check it out if you're interested. But anyways, for the next one, Shivamon. This is definitely a Copium deck. Like, as a card itself, there's a lot of cards like this in Digimon where, like, as a standalone card, the card's really cool. Really, really powerful against certain, decks against Set Control and stuff, especially splashed in, like, other green decks. Maybe you could see this as a Tekken Grandis, or we've seen it as Tekken Green Hybrid, but as a pure deck, like, nah, man, this card is not doing anything. I'm sorry, Shivamon's just, like, terrible. So then for the other last couple of decks here, let's just kind of go through these. Black X Antibody. This is probably, I'd say, like, low tier 1 or high 1.5. I don't think it's as powerful as like let's say Yellow Hybrid. Let's kind of order these. I don't think it's probably as powerful as like Yellow Blue Hybrid as Imperial, but you do have a lot of things going for you. Oryuken is a crazy card. Being able to essentially evolve your level 7 for like a 3 cost, being able to blow stuff up, swing twice, check a bunch of cards, unsuspend with Oryumon, etc. You have a lot of consistency with your Coda, UG Tamers, 8 Searchers in the deck. What more can you say? You guys know the drill with X Antibody. They just keep getting support for the black Alphamon version of the deck, and so the deck's by just default going to be good if it has that much support. And then next we got my favorite hybrid list. We got green hybrid. I think this is probably high tier 1.5. I would probably put this in like tier 1, but I don't know. It's on and off. It's I think because after EX2, we kind of saw the pure green version of the deck kind of flourish a little bit. I believe it won an Ulti Cup at some point. And if you do want to see a green hybrid list, I do want to have one on my channel for the EX2 format. It probably will change once BT9 comes out because we get a decent amount of cool new green tamers. But this is it's just a very memory efficient deck. Lots of searchability, lots of consistency, but a high ceiling as well because you can still play things like Ancient Troymon, Ancient Beetlemon. You've got the option to play stuff like Shivamon, Argomon level 6, etc. So lots of really cool tech options you can do in the deck as well. And then now we got War Greymon X. I'd probably put this one in like high tier 1.5 as well. I don't think it's as powerful as some of the other X antibody decks, just because it's a little bit too reliant on the X antibody card, like the white option card, whereas the Metal Gurumon deck and the Grandest deck and the Alphamon deck doesn't run it at all, I don't think. But it's a little bit too reliant on the deck, and then it just has some problems like finishing off your opponent. And you need the correct setup to get like the 2 to 3 checks, whereas the other decks, it's much more easy to kind of get your ideal game state in. And then speaking of other one-stack X antibody decks, I think Grandis Kuagamon is an easy tier 1. This deck is crazy. If you play it against it, you will know. But you basically, the thing about this one-stack deck is like, one-stacking isn't even like describing the deck well, because that kind of implies that you need like the perfect stack, right? Like a Jessmon stack. You need your Greymon, Savior Huck, plus Sistermons in hand, plus Judgment of the Blade or something. For this deck, you literally just need Grand Kuagamon Grandis. And like, if you're feeling spicy, maybe a Delicate Plan package, like if you want to just like avoid everything that can possibly kill you. But like, once you make the stack, you are checking 6 at like 18,000. There is nothing short of like a Chaos Dagger, like a Kokaida's Breath, Gaia Force, those sort of blowout cards that will stop you. And like I said, you can kind of tech for that if you're playing like a Delicate Plan package. But Grand is just the board control, and the aggro you have is just absolutely crazy. I think it's really, really fast deck. So that's basically it for the tier list, guys. I don't know, Battle Royale, can you explain to me why there's a Jellymon on this deck? I don't think Jellymon Tribal is going to be good for a while, so I'm going to put that in the Copium tier. But guys, that's going to do it for the video here. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, whether this is a somewhat accurate prediction or not. Let me know if you think I missed some decks on this list. I will say, just based off of my memory right now, I think I did miss Mastamon. Mastamon was not on this list. I would probably put Mastamon, like not Ordinamon. I'm just talking about like Mastamon strictly. I'd probably put that like a 1.5, the tier list, just because it really high ceiling, lacks consistency a little bit. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.